Interestingly enough, I was having my hair done. The hairstylist confided she was pregnant and it was during COVID and she was really, really sick. And they had to beg to let her into the hospital. So they had induced her into a coma as well. She had an encounter with God during this coma.
Mm. Yeah.
And she was raised a Christian, sort of by her grandma, but she didn't live in a Christian home. And she just kind of knew, that God was around, but she didn't have a relationship. But she was in this coma. She was in a very dark place. And she was just sort of in the nether, like just floating. And she started getting really, really scared. And out in the distance was a bright light that grew bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger until it completely surrounded her. And all of the fear and anxiety went away. And she just felt like what you felt when you prayed,
Mm.
like that whole being full of love and compassion. It was so bright, she couldn't really see. But when she looked down behind her, she said she was sitting in a hand, like a big hand,
Yeah.
like the hand of God. And, for whatever it's worth, this was her experience. But she was shown the future of her children. It was not good what she saw, and she was given a choice if she wanted to go back. And she said, "Yes, because I have to tell them who you are." And immediately she woke up out of the coma,
Yeah.
and it had felt like when you get your wisdom teeth out and you go to sleep and you wake up right away. It was that quick for her, but she had been in a coma for 3 months.
Right.
And of
Yeah. Comas are
course,
like that. People who are in comas, they have
yeah,
no clue
it's
of
like
time.
the sweet part about it is that week that I met her, I heard the testimony of a lady who shared that when she, had a near death experience delivering twins, and she almost died or something like that in during delivery. She said that she came face to face with Jesus. He asked if she wanted to go back, and she said, "Yes, I have to go back, otherwise my children won't know you." The really sweet part about it is I had heard this story before I met the hairstylist. So the hairstylist thought she was kind of crazy, right? Like she didn't really
Yeah.
have anyone to believe her. But I had just heard the story and the testimony of the sweet lady in our Bible study. And so I was able to share that with her, and she
Mm.
burst out into tears in the middle of the salon
Yeah.
because she was given the same choice to come back for the same reason. So I don't know, it was a mind blowing experience.
Yeah. I can't tell you the person's name because they're a client. I've been with this guy for 7 years. He's 39 now, but when he was 17, he was in a car accident. He drove a car into a tree and did brain damage on his right side brain. They declared him dead at the hospital. And like 20 something minutes later, he came back. He just came back. And the doctors had no explanation, but they said he died. I mean, they declared him dead. He's just laying there and he came back. He says that he saw Jesus. He says that. And he said Jesus called him by a name. And I can tell you that name because it's not his name. He says Irene. Irene.
Hmm.
He does have traumatic brain injury, but he can have conversations with you. And, I've been working with him for motivational, therapy over the years. And for a long time, if you said his name, so I'm going to make up a name because, again, I can't use his real name, but if his name was uh, Bob Smith and you called him Bob Smith, he would say Bob Smith Irene.
Hmm.
Irene. Now, I've looked up Irene just to see if it's any language, and it's not. That's not a name in any language that you can find. Like names have meanings. It's
Mm-hmm.
not a word in any language. But Scripture does tell us this: that He will give us a new name in heaven.
Hmm.
And with this guy that I work with, his family, they're they're from another country and they're of an Orthodox belief. They believe that the same thing I do, and that is the name He's given in heaven. I've seen a few miracles over the years. Those are the testimonies we give. People can't refute your testimony. They can try to say what they want to say, but it's an experience you have, and who's to really say your experience is not true?
That's right. When medical professionals will say, yeah, we couldn't have done that.
Yeah,
Because I've heard that a few times too, as well. Like
yeah,
when a medical professional says, medically, this was impossible, this has to have been a miracle,
right.
I would think a hospital would be full of stories, especially, the secular doctors who don't have a faith background. They must see stuff all the time that they're left shaking their head about.
They are, and there's actually a lot of Christian nurses and a lot of Christian doctors, and some of them I know that I've talked to over the years. The stories like what I've shared today, or you've shared, that have convinced them there's got to be a God. When you can't say the medicine I did today made the difference. When you
Hmm.
say they were dying and there's nothing I can do to say I can't explain away. So, by the way, here we go. Are you ready?